connections. What are they to you? Come and join us on Uplift today. We've got a great show for you. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome to Uplift, uplifting conversations that set your heart on fire. My name is Sarah Wade. I'm joining you from Perth in Western Australia, and it's a pleasure, as always, to have my beautiful co-host, Mr. Neil Thrussell.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really stoked and super excited. It's been a long time since I've had an opportunity to chat with my friend Scott Schilling, so I'm really excited to learn more about what he's got going on, because he's always got something going on. And my name is Neil Thrussell, Calgary, Alberta, and I'm the co-host of the Uplift Show, and I'm an author, and I released a book last week, but we can talk more about that as we get to the show. Scott, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
So I always thought Scott was an intelligent man, but as I was talking backstage with Sarah in the green room, I originally met Scott, who's from Dallas, I think it's Dallas, Texas, in November, and he flew up to Canada in November. I was just thinking, that's not so smart, Scott.
Well, I knew I was going to meet you, so therefore that's what made it smart.
And it was fun because if I remember, it was like, I think you were one of the first, if not the second person I had met at this conference that we were at there. And I introduced myself as like, hi, I'm Neil Thrussell. I teach heart-based connection. And it was like, you went blink, blink, blink. And it's like, oh, I'm Scott Schilling and I teach heart-based selling. And it was like, boom.
Yeah, that was it, pretty much.
Marriage made in heaven. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was really easy. We were automatically aligned, and it just has made for a great friendship for a lot of years now.
Absolutely. So, Scott, you've got as the authentic connector. What is an authentic connection in your mind?
Well, where it came from is I've been blessed enough to do 3,000 live events throughout my career. And so I've shared the stage with every name you know, even though you might not know my name. That wasn't my task at the time. But because of that, I got to spend tremendous amounts of time with some true world changers. And what you find out over time, first of all, like coming out of Dallas, Texas, and coming from an influence of Mr. Zig Ziglar. Zig wrote the book, See You at the Top. I read it at a very young age. And there was a quote in that book that set my mantra and my path on course immediately. And that was, you can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. And so it was both a positioning statement and a really a heart set statement. And so for me, it's, being blessed to meet and share the stage with a tremendous number of really cool people, and then being able to have conversations with people. And the chances of you needing what I do when we first meet is maybe 5%. But the chances of you needing to know something I know or someone I know is probably 95%. So I always suggest that people become an asset to everyone they meet. Asset being a 5-letter acronym for a spontaneous servant every time. Come from a place of becoming a spontaneous servant, the rest takes care of itself. So, just talking to Sarah earlier in the green room and talking about some charities. Well, now I know I've got connections in some charities. I've got connections in some things. So it's authentic connection is is listening to one side, hearing what they have to potentially solve problems, hearing another side, potentially hearing their problems, and then making the suggestion that maybe they might want to meet. And if they do, then you put them together.
Yeah, wonderful. Scott was the first person that I'd ever seen in an email put as part of his signature line, how may I support you or be of service for you?
Right.
I don't remember what
Please let me know how I can be of service.
Yeah. And this was, I don't know, we've known each other at least 10 years. This was before anybody had ever, Scott was the very first person. And I discovered that Scott actually noticed. Because there's people out there in the world that'll put lots in their signatures, but they don't mean it. And you go and call them on it, and it's done.
It was funny because I've been doing that, I bet you probably 25 years. Well, whenever Al Gore invented the internet, I started using that as my tagline. And I remember sending an email to somebody one day, and they saw that and they said, what do you mean by that? And I said, I mean what it says. Please let me know how I can be of service. Well, what's your angle? There is no angle. I can't control whether you take advantage of the offer or not. The only thing I can control is my outbound offer. My offer is sincere. If I can be of service, let me know. That's the extension of being an asset to everyone you meet.
And
there's so many people, I think, that we've come across in the industry who are inauthentic, and the fact that, you're sticking to your guns and it's been like this for 25 years, it says so much about you. What's something that most people don't know about you?
Well, let's see. That I walk my dog pretty much every morning. No, I don't know, what don't they know? They don't. I think sometimes people think when you've been on big stages and you've been in big arenas and you've had all these things, that all of this has been really easy and it's what you actually wanted to do. And the reality is the only thing I've really wanted to do is serve more people and solve more problems. And the benefit of not trying so hard to get onto those stages has allowed me to get onto those stages, because I've ultimately been blessed to serve a lot of people and solve a lot of problems. And that's I don't think, if you really, to answer the question, what don't people really know? I don't think they really know how many people I've been in front of, or how many events I've done, or how many people I've served. Because I don't talk about that stuff much.
Yeah, it's interesting in a world where, we're taught to show certain things and maybe show bank account details or so many other things. I find it interesting what people like yourself and Neil and I share, where that tip of the iceberg falls for you. So thank you for sharing how heart-centered and sharing and caring you really are. It's a beautiful thing to have a genuine person like this on our show. So thank you for joining us.
Well,
Speaking of,
sure.
Anyone watching us live or in replay, we appreciate you too. I cut you off, Scott. Go.
No, I was just going to say, I actually had it in a presentation not long ago that I said, do you have to be a Pulitzer Prize winner to have an impact with a book? Absolutely not. Do you have to be the best known speaker name in the industry to be successful? Absolutely not. In fact, not all that many people probably know my name. That's not been the desire. The desire has been to positively impact lives. Now, what I can assure you is the lives that I've positively impacted know my name. That's far more important than the rest.
And I know your name, and I count myself lucky in the blessings, because it was a stroke that you decided to go have an experience of a stroke. I don't know how many years ago. And you, if I remember right, you had just finished taping a program with Mark Allen or something like that, and then things went south on you.
Yeah, we were doing an infomercial shoot, and we decided to go out and have lunch. So we were going to Bubba Gump's in at Universal City Walk in LA, and got off the shuttle, walked about 10 feet, and my legs stopped. And I told my right foot to move, and it said no. And I told my left foot to move, and it said no. And I realized I was standing on two tingling stumps from just above the knees down. Started to become disoriented, falling back a little bit. Luckily, there was a rail. I was walking with 7 people. One of them slid a chair underneath me. I fell into the chair. And one of the people walking with me, I was walking with 7 people, 3 of them doctors. Coincidence? I think not. He spun around and he said, "Scott, what's your phone number?" I said, 817-239. Why would you ask me that? Can't you see I can't walk? Oh, no reason. Well, there was a reason. I was cold. I was gray. I was clammy. I was sweating profusely. I was in the middle of a full-blown cerebellar stroke. And for those who don't know, the cerebellum controls speech, memory, fine motor skills, walking, talking, vertigo. By the grace of God, you see me like this.
Absolutely. And yeah, we had quite the conversation after that. And as to, you had, for some, it would seem a miraculous recovery. But as Scott and I talk about it, no, we believe that God had other plans for you. So just get your butt out of here, scare the heck out of you. That job's done. Now you get on with your work.
That's exactly it. It was a wake-up call. And I made a declaration to God, quite frankly. I said, I'm done being a hired gun, except for 3 things: share messages of hope and inspiration, teach and train others to do the same, and build your kingdom. Other than that, I'm done. I mean, I get you saved me. I take no credit for it. And what you learn when you come through an experience like that is, again, what's really important in life. And the fact is, being of service to people is what we've been put on the planet for. And quite frankly, my platform, I believe, is to raise respect, honor, and dignity on the planet, is do what I can do. We don't have to agree with each other, but we should respect each other's position. We should honor each other for having it. And we do that. We dignify the situation. Well, if we do that enough, the world comes together.
I'm speechless because I cannot. I'm just like, yes.
So what's really important in my life?
I've got a question. Yeah.
You know, my lovely wife, my kids, my friends, family, people. You know, I think it's really important that we invest in each other. This sounds like such a weird example, but I was at a grocery store yesterday and I had 1 Coke and a bag of chips in a cart. And there was a Muslim woman in line in front of me with 2 12-packs of soda, holding them without a cart. You could see it was weighing on her and all that. And I said, "Would you like my cart? I can certainly hold the chips because this is all I'm getting. Would you like the cart?" And she said, we could share it. And I said, "We could, but we don't have to. You can have it all." And she goes, "Well, if I could put these down, that means I could get the muffins I was going to have to come back for." I said, "Well, if you have any extra, you don't get to be my size without eating, you know." And so we were goofing around, having fun in line. And it turned out that she grabbed a few more things, put them in the cart. And when we got up there, she just spun around and said, "Thank you so much." Now, I only share that because it was so easy to do. And I actually thought about it for a second. Should I offer? Gosh, what if she turns me down? What if I stop thinking about yourself? What about her? Right. And so when it happened, it was like, all right, that was good. Just what if we all had that random act of kindness here and there? And it sounds weird because I'm calling it on myself, but I actually had the hesitation of whether I would do it or not myself. We all get that. Just bust through. Her smile was worth all of it.
Absolutely. And without any payment or anything, you were paying to some degree. You were paying it forward. You were paying forward kindness. The simplest act.
Well, that's the thing that most people forget. I mean, you know, there you are up in the great white north, right? And Sarah's down under, and yet we can all smile and we can bring joy to each other around the world. And now that we have technology like this that we can do those kinds of things, well, there's only two answers in life, and I don't use one of them. It's hell yes and hell no. And so when you said, "Hey, would you join us on the show?" It's a hell yes answer. What a great opportunity to have some fun.
Absolutely. And kudos to you, because it's later in Texas, and there's, you know, there's Monday Night Football, isn't
There's two games going on. Would you like to know the scores? I've been watching up until now.
And yeah, so thank you. Because yes, how can I be of service? Is I just asked Scott, "Hey, do you want to come on the show?" He really didn't even ask what the show was about. He just went, "Yeah, okay."
Well, I know with you, I didn't need to know what the show was about. We've known each other long enough. And I looked at Sarah's, I was stalking her a little bit, I got to tell you. But no, I was looking at no, but I was looking at, and it's just when you find people that want to do great things, I personally want to do anything I can to support you to do great things. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
What an asset you are.
Well, thank you.
So we're trying out something different on our show. So we're getting close to the 20-minute mark. So we're just wanting to know, what's the best place or the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to know more about Scott?
Well, if they want to know more about me and the things that I do, go to theauthentic.com. And if you want to reach out to me, it's Scott at theauthentic.com. I'm not that hard to find.
Excellent. So just as an aside, what is theauthentic.com?
Well, again, what I really want to do is I'm very fortunate, Neil, you know, and Sarah, you're learning to know, but I'm an international speaker. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. I'm a media host. I've been fortunate enough to be a best-selling author, and I'm actually a sales advocate. I actually do things in behalf of others. So when you go to hub.theauthentic.com, you'll see a little bit of that. And if there's anything that's attractive to you, there's a video of me speaking. You can actually see me on stage. You can see pictures of past events and things like that. And there's resources there. There's all sorts of different things. Again, it's meant to be of service to those who attend.
Awesome. And it's interesting because Scott, another event that Scott and I attended, Scott had been on various large stages, and we were at a much smaller, more intimate gathering, and Scott's hand was up like a greased lightning, fast as a flash, when somebody had forgotten to get something, and Scott was like, "Oh, I'll get this and I'll do this." And I'm like, this to me shows an incredible heart-based person when they're willing to set that they could have let other people do it because of a position of authority or knowledge or egocentric views. There's other people that could have done this, but Scott was just like, nope.
No, I'm no different than anybody else. I've been blessed and fortunate to have some great opportunities along the way. I learned to be of service watching a man, Zig Ziglar, be one of the most amazing, humble leaders there are. Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. I'm no better than anybody else.
You've had some incredible, just listing those two are incredible mentors, and to be in their, those were incredible men.
Absolutely. I've been blessed. The one thing that I would encourage anyone to do if they want to learn anything in any specific area is find the best of the best in that area and retain them. Follow them. I mean, if you like their model and you like their heart. Now, there were people that I thought I wanted to follow until I really got to know them. And I realized I had no desire to be around them. Yeah. So you got to find the right mentors, but when you find them, the good ones are really good ones.
One of my mentors, Satyen Raja, would affectionately say, if you want to find out how enlightened someone is, kick them in the shins.
Probably a good technique.
And you find out quickly, because the humanness comes in, or the other one is stand backstage when they come off of stage and see how they treat the people around them.
That's a very true one. Again, one of the blessings is being in the green room with some of the best and just having them say, I'm no different than anybody else. I've just had this opportunity or that opportunity, or this happened in my life. And so it's really interesting but you also hear who the less than good ones are. They are not quite as authentic as you'd like to have. I met one guy's niece every city we went to. It just was a different niece. It was amazing.
So you appear to have structure and drive. Is it from your life purpose, or what was it? Did you have an epiphany, or how did you come to have such strong beliefs in what it is that you wanted to do?
Well, I think part of it is I grew up a 5-sport athlete, and playing a lot of athletics. There's a lot of coaching that goes on that way. I was very fortunate to play Big Ten football at the University of Iowa for Coach Hayden Fry. Go Hawks. Okay, no Hawk fans in the crowd. Fine. I learned so many life lessons from Coach Fry. Quite frankly, I still use to this day. And I think that that's the thing when you have people who invest in you and you see that pattern, you want to keep it going. So then you get into business and you kind of follow a similar path. You get mentors, and I'm very blessed to be around Jack Canfield quite a bit for many years, and Mark Victor Hansen and Brian Tracy and Harv Eker and so many more. Success leaves clues. You get around really amazing people, and just be observant, and it's amazing what you find out. So that's a big part of it. I think the reality is, and then as you mature a little bit, that's code word for getting older. You start to realize that what life's really all about, and how you can give back. I said one thing to everyone. I've written checks to 19 mentors across my career, and I said the same thing to everyone when I started. Give me everything you got, and my commitment is I won't keep it. I'll share it with my students and my clients. And I think if you go into it that way, it's pretty amazing that they will. And if anybody would say that to me, I would do the exact same thing, because others have done it for me.
It's almost selfish, isn't it, to hold it back for yourself and not to give that gift to other people once you know it. on
Yeah,
that,
yeah, it's very
are
much
there
so.
genuine or inauthentic ways to do that?
Well, I think,
What are your
the fact
thoughts?
is, I think if you're not releasing what you learn, if you're not working to expand the planet, expand others, you're really coming from a lack mentality. And we live in an abundant world. We've got an abundant God. We've got an abundant universe. Um, why would you come from a place of lack? It doesn't make any sense. And so, one of my mentors said it this way. He said, I'll give you everything I got for two reasons. Number one, you're probably not going to remember most of what I tell you anyway. But more importantly, number two, you're going to think you're so dang smart that you're going to change it and goof it up. So I have no problem with you trying to copy me.
And I think when we copy others, we're all influenced by certain things, whether it be our environment or those in it. So many things that we're personally interested in too. When we put our own personal stance on it, it can absolutely enhance what we're doing for ourselves. And when we share it with others with our twist, it really can change. And then there's the flip side, like you said, Scott, of changing it too much that just doesn't work anymore. How do you find that balance? How would you recommend that other people find that balance?
Well, it's interesting. So I literally had one of my mentors come into Dallas a number of years after I had studied with him and I was out speaking. He happened to be my speaking mentor. And he said, "Hey, I'm coming to Dallas. I want to buy you dinner." And I said, "Well, you haven't bought me anything, so I'm in." And he said, we went to Uncle Julio's. We were into our second margarita, and he said, "I've got to ask you a question." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Out of all the thousands of students that I've trained, you're the only one who did everything I instructed him to do. I need to know why." And I said, "Great, I will answer that for you if you answer two questions for me." And he said, "Sure, what's that?" I said, "How many dollars worth of checks did I write you?" And he gave me a number, and I said, "Yeah, that sounds about right." "How many of them did you cash?" He said, "Every one of them." I said, "You now have the answer. Why would I pay you all that money to learn what to do and then not do it?" He said, "Believe it or not, out of thousands, you're the only one who ever has."
Yeah.
That says a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. I wonder if anyone who's watching us, again, whether it's live or in replay, have you ever done that? Have you ever bought a course or a program or even bought a book and it's just sat there on the shelf, partly read or partly used? Let us know. No, I have. I'm definitely guilty of that for a variety of reasons. Sometimes because it just didn't sit well with me. Other times because I got distracted and forgot about it. All right.
What for the industry calls it shelf help. That's right. That's shelf help. So, but I mean, it's interesting. I was showing somebody earlier because somebody brought it up. But this is the material from one of my mentors that we started talking about the other day, a friend and I went and I grabbed 5 different folders of content from him.
Yeah.
And he said, "How do you still have that?" And I said, "Why would I ever get rid of it? I mean, it just makes no sense to me, you know?"
I think sometimes too, it can make sense or not make sense at the time, and you can sort of go through your life's personal process and come back to it, and you're like, "Oh, now I get it." I wonder how many times you've reread those files or those books and what sort of enlightenment process you've had from that, Scott.
Well, what was crazy is I went back into the first binder and I started reading stuff and I go, "Gosh, I say that like twice a week. And oh man, I use that all the time." And oh, really? That's where I got that from? And so it was really, it's really funny when you go back. See, the brain is an amazing thing. Once you learn something, you can never unlearn it. The only thing it can do is it can move back. Is it can get out of top of mind. And so having the resources and going back and reviewing and freshening up and things like that, people, I know technology moves things fast and times are moving fast and all those kinds of things. But there are things that worked 45 years ago. You'll both have to take my word for this. There were things that worked 45 years ago that still are the right way to do it today. And quite frankly, that's authentic connection. It's people think every sales and everything is an intellectual or tactical process in the brain. It's not. It's a relational, strategic, heartfelt process. So it's really, you got to take the 14-inch journey from your head to your heart. You've got to drop into this space and understand that when you're strategic and you're relational, it's amazing what happens. I mean, you get God bumps, you get that God blast of energy that hits you that just, it's like, what, that feels good. Well, that's because you're connecting to your heart. Why wouldn't you want to be there?
Absolutely. So at some point in time, I'll make the assumption that it was the shiny objects that got you on stage, it was the money, and now you've moved to the spiritual side. How is that different for you? Like, what do you think has changed in you?
Well, I think I've evolved, but believe it or not, the reason I went speaking full time was not for the money. That was the happy byproduct. And it can be very, very good. I'm not denying that, but I was sales training. I was teaching in front of rooms. I was doing those things anyway, but I felt that I could serve more people and I could contribute to the world better if I was a professional speaker. I mean, everybody has a story. Everybody's story is unique. Everybody could be a storyteller to benefit other people. The one thing most people lack is want to. They just don't want to, or they don't have enough want to. I had want to. I wanted to serve more people. And the byproduct for exchanging more value is more value gets exchanged to you. And we can call that certificates of appreciation. Some people call it money, right? I mean, when you provide more value, you get more value. So I really set out, again, to follow Zig's. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. You help them first, and then the exchange of value comes back to you. So that's what really set out. Now, that being said, after a near-death experience, after having 2 hips replaced, after a variety of other things that I've written about in one of my latest books, and lived through all of those, what you realize is, what? Resolve is an amazing thing. Desire is an amazing thing. Wanting to see people smile is an amazing thing. It doesn't take that much. And one of the quotes, and I say it every day at some point in the day, I've already said it today, but I'm going to say it again, that I love so much, is Mother Teresa's quote, "If you can't feed 100 people, feed one." The metaphor there is simple. You may not become the greatest platform speaker in history. You might not be in front of 25,000 people in an arena. That might never happen to you. But if the one person you talk to in a grocery store and you communicate your message in such a way that it gives them the hope that they need for that day, that it helps them decide to kick an addiction, it helps them to move forward, How does it get better than that? It's not about, this isn't a competition, oh, I helped more people than you helped. That's not what this is about. The only thing that would be a shame is when we all get up to the pearly gates, we go, did you help anybody? No, I was more interested in the other stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, no, that I'm allergic to lightning. I've already found that out.
Hey, I think we've all got something in common there. That's great. I love that there's so many different ways that we can serve people, and that your gift is that you shared was, it could be to one or it can be to the many, and that's up to us. Now, Neil and I work with a lot of up and coming coaches, and I'm curious to know what your message would be to them about maybe removing some stories or blocks. Or, for example, my daughter who's 6, when she's learning things, like she knows that's her job, is she's learning. And coaches kind of forget that. I feel like adults, we sort of forget that it's okay to fumble as we grow and learn. What would you say to somebody who's starting up, who wants to get on stages and to help more than one person, or maybe 10 or 20?
Well, again, find a good mentor that can help you learn the craft, become good at the craft. But again, it starts with want to. When you got a big enough what you want to do and a strong enough why you want to do it, the how to do it shows up. So, what do you want to do? I want to positively impact 1 billion or more lives on the planet. Cool. Why do you want to do it? Because God's granted me talents and capabilities that other people either don't have or choose not to use. How are you going to do it? It'll show up. Guess what? I'll get a call from this guy in Calgary that says, hey, I got a show. Would you join us on the show? See, we don't know. It's like people sit there and say, well, how many people watch the show? Got no idea. Well, did you? I don't know. I'm good at a lot of stuff. I'm terrible at reading minds. I can't tell you if only one person ever sees this show and it's the right person, we did good. See, that's what people get so wrapped around the axle about. It's like quantity, quantity, quantity. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. So again, everybody has a message. Even if 2 people go through the exact same situation, the way they've gone through it, the environmental situation, one had a very supportive spouse, one had a less than supportive spouse, but they both made it through the same situation. That means they both have different ways of communicating a message to serve somebody. Somebody who's, I do a show every Tuesday night with a buddy who was terribly addicted to drugs and drinking, and had a really hard section of his life. And now he counsels people and helps them break their addictions because he's been there. He knows what it's like. And so everybody has a story that will serve somebody. The only question is, the more stories you have, or maybe the more grandiose your story is, potentially gives you the opportunity to serve more people. But it's not about that. It's about serving who needs to be served. The old concept that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Yes. If you've got a story that can serve, I had a coaching client, and she wanted somebody to do a particular endorsement for her book because she thought she would sell more books. And the person said, go ahead and write the endorsement, send it to me. I'll read it. If I agree with it, I'll send it back, and then you can use it. And she goes, but it doesn't feel right because I actually wrote it. I said, good, then don't use it. Yeah, but I won't sell as many books. I said, oh, so you're after fame. And she goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, the only reason you want the endorsement is to sell more books for your fame. She goes, no, I want to do more good. I said, oh, then you're after impact. She said, yeah. I said, good, then leave it off. She goes, but how will I get the impact if I don't have? I said, the reality is, are you after fame or are you after impact? If you're after impact and you give enough impact, fame will come. Let me give you an example. Mother Teresa. She never went after fame, but because of the impact she created, she became famous. So that's why today, with all this influencer junk, and oh, I got 47,000 likes today because I said something really stupid. Awesome. Not my style.
Yeah. And
Oh,
so just to recap, this is still, this is
fighting
still the
for it
best way to get back to Scott, for those that, if you just tuned in and you want to take the opportunity to connect with Scott, and I highly recommend it. You can, at the Authentic Connector, and or email him directly. It's Scott at theauthenticconnector.com.
We've
So how's
got
the western
comments.
side of Australia these days, Sarah?
Sorry, I missed that. I heard something about Australia.
Yeah, I just was wondering how it is around you in Australia these days.
In terms, I'm sorry, my internet cut out. I missed some of that. Sorry, I have to ask you to back up a little bit further.
No, I was just wanted to find out what it's like around your area in Australia these days. I'm asking you questions.
The landscape here is interesting. I feel like we're in this juxtaposition between the old and the new in so many different ways. We've come from, obviously, people came to Australia and with all these new things like farming, for example, the way the Europeans farmed, it worked for them, but come to Australia, it doesn't really work here. And I think the more and more people that I talk to, especially sort of your age, it's been interesting because I'm just too old for personal development, and they sort of stand back and they're not interested in it. But it's great for you young people. And I wonder why it wouldn't be great for them as grandparents to have this amazing influence on their children, to have this beautiful impact, and to really share what an asset they could be to that child or to other people they're hanging around. So it's a really interesting juxtaposition at the moment here between the old and the new, and how we assimilate that to be our own. I think that's what's been really impressive and really important to see in other people. And I 100% agree. The influencer model and the fame and fortune versus the impact, they're very two completely different ways of looking at things, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing to see when they're both married together. Sometimes I think they're divorced. If you were to give someone that encouragement, don't get divorced, bring them together, is that possible? And what ways have you seen that in?
Well, it's absolutely possible, and that's really the point. Is there's never a time to stop learning, and there's never a time to change. I did a podcast in Australia probably 2-3 weeks ago, and the podcaster said, we're probably 10 to 15 years behind the States in how we look at personal development and a variety of different things. And I said, great. That means you can learn from all the stuff we did wrong, and you can implement all the stuff we did right, and you can serve more people more efficiently without as many mistakes. See, I don't think there's a thing called failure unless you include a 4-letter word, quit. Because failure is simply a learning process going forward. In fact, I coach my clients 5 questions to ask in any situation to make it a learning situation. What's the lesson? What's the gift? What did you do to create it? How would you modify it next time to make it better? How is this going to serve you the rest of your life? So as an example, I had a full-blown cerebellar stroke. What was the lesson? The lesson is when the back tailgate of your SUV bangs you in the back of the head and it almost knocks you out, go get checked out. That's the lesson. What's the gift? I'm still alive. What did I do to create it? I threw the back deck up too fast, ducked underneath it. I put myself in the position. What would you do to modify it? Sell that vehicle. Never keep anything that attacks you. No, the be more careful. How is this going to serve you the rest of your life? Well, I'm going to share the story to say having a headache for 8 days is not normal. Go get checked out. When you get a traumatic bang to the back of your head, there's some pretty nasty circumstances that can come up. I'm so phenomenally blessed to have lived through what I've lived through. In fact, I was told repeatedly, we don't understand why you're alive. And that's when I said, I've got it all figured out. It's God's grace, mercy, and favor. And they said, well, that's as good an answer as we got. And so the point is that either you use, there's actually nothing wrong per se. There's things that are less right. You're going to be off course far more than you're ever on course. The problem or the goal is not to not be off course. The goal is to be less off course less often, because you're always off course. If I was to get on a plane and either fly to Calgary or fly to Australia right now, and the trade winds were blowing, they're not going to come on the loudspeaker and say, we know you were headed to Australia, but, welcome to Russia. They're going to course correct the entire way to make sure that we get to the end destination. And that's what a lot of people, and again, I think what you're dealing with in Australia, what came to me intuitively when you said that people just go, oh, I'm too old to handle personal development. The reality is that's like saying you're too old to breathe, because breath is life, and so is personal development. The fact is you don't get to a point and get to stop. Ray Kroc of McDonald's used to have a saying, when you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you rot. Why would you want to sit and rot? That makes no sense. So again, I think, Sarah, with what you're doing, especially there, you've got a target rich environment to positively impact lives, help them see the after state. And the after state is already being through the personal development and how much richer their life could be. And if they can accept how much richer their life could be, the how to get there will happen.
Powerful. And if this feels impactful to you, to drop a comment, because I don't know about you, but I've got hairs standing up on my arms right now. I'm absolutely loving what Scott has been bringing to us today. Thank you so very much. We appreciate that. Yes, beautiful. Go.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the things, between my generation and my mum's generation is that longevity. You're seeing that story and really sharing it in one way or another, because it impacts the next generation and the generation after. She's actually recently been talking to people on their deathbed and taking their a death doula notes and writing biographies for them. And it's been really curious to hear what she's learning about people of her generation and her mother's generation, and how what they want to share with the new generation. So if you're feeling like you're too old to get into personal development, I don't know, you might want to listen to Scott, myself, or Neil, or a mentor that you connect with, and just dip your toe in, see if you like it. You never know. It could just be the next best thing. You won't know if you don't try.
Life is precious. I learned that with what I went through. And, to have your kids go, Daddy, you can't leave. You got to be here. Yeah. And we lost a friend 2 days ago, 34 years old, to cancer. It's a shock what happens these days. So again, this is where the play full out. Understand that you are valuable, whoever you are. I mean, whoever hears this hopefully understands that you have value, that you can positively impact a life, or a life that now impacts many lives. The continuation of that story about fame and impact, I said, what if you only sold one book? She said, that'd be terrible. But I said, wait, I'm not done. What if you sold the one book to the person that became the next Mother Teresa because of your book? She said, that'd be amazing. I said, that's impact. So you can't tell, I can't tell, you can't tell, none of us can. Nobody in the personal development area can tell who the one is going to be. But what I have found, if somebody has if they want to make a difference, I'll give them everything. I'll give them everything I got to help them, because they have the desire. They have that. Napoleon Hill said, you got to have a burning desire, that burning in your belly to want to make a difference. And so if you find people like that, those are the ones who are going to change the world for the better.
I've got a question for our audience. How are you going to spread the kindness wave today or this week? Just have a think about it. Whether you let us know or not, we'd love to see that in your mind's eye and see where it goes for you. Oh, what a show. Love it.
So,
Neil.
Scott, who's Scott of the Authentic Connector, but which connection are you looking for? Who would you love to meet, whether it's for tea, coffee, just to sit around and have a conversation with? Who's on your I would love to have a conversation list with next?
I think at this point, whomever could put me in a position where I could share the most messages that would create positive impact. I don't know that there's a particular person anymore. At one point, somebody asked me this question. I said, Richard Branson, and he said, I can arrange that in 62 days, and he did. So I don't know that there's a particular person. I want to play full out. I want to leave it on the field, which means I want to share as many messages to as many people that it can possibly positively impact along the way. And, with podcasts these days, with shows like this, there are stages coming back. I just want to utilize the talents and capabilities I've been granted fully to hopefully inspire some others to want to do the same after me. I want to leave it on the field.
Excellent. Thank you. So, Sarah, what is it that
Tell you're a team player.
Who would you like to, if you could meet someone?
Oh, I would absolutely love to meet an art therapist or an art psychotherapist by the name of Kathy Malchiodi. She has written a lot of books and is just an absolute leader in the field. I think I would potentially struggle to bring words to mouth, but I've got a collection of books and they have absolutely impacted my journey as an art therapist. And I would love to spend more time with her and to help or to learn more from her in one way or another, which again would enable me to help more people. So yeah, Kathy Malchiodi, when you're watching this, let's have a chat.
That's awesome.
I did actually find her recently and I reached out. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from her because it's a thing that we can do, as Scott mentioned, the internet, it's pretty amazing at the moment. Just reach out to those people. You never know. I know that I would never meet her if I didn't reach out. So Kathy Malchiodi, come on Uplift anytime.
Can pretty much assure you wouldn't meet her if she didn't know you wanted to meet her.
Right? Yeah. And Neil, how about you?
I want to meet Christopher Polini. When he was 14, he wrote a series of books called The Aragon, so science fiction fantasy book. And I want to read to know how he, as a 14-year-old, wrote these books, self-published, went on to write 4 books that all became bestsellers, and then he took a 10-year hiatus and he's just redoing it. So I want to know, just casual conversation, just sit over beers or coffee and just to understand his writing process. And yeah, then there's lots of people that I'm gonna need to see Scott's Rolodex, because yeah, I'd love to meet Richard Branson. But the one that Scott had Scott told me he's now a friend with, was Nick, and I don't want to ruin his last name.
Vujicic.
Yeah, to me, when I discovered him on the internet, I don't know, 15 years ago, whatever it was, prior to him being married, and he was, yeah, I was just like, this guy is just an incredible inspiration. And yeah, I would just like to sit and have a casual conversation with him.
He's an amazing guy who, I mean, as he says on stage, isn't it amazing somebody born with no arms, no legs becomes the hand and feet of God?
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we would love to know too, like whether you're watching this live or replay, please let us know who you would be interested in meeting. I don't know, maybe we could make that happen for you. But again, you never know unless you ask.
And I can't believe it. We're at the hour where we need to wrap up our show. It's gone so fast. And if I could leave our viewers, our listeners on live or replay with a thought, I would leave you with, you are worthy of all your dreams and aspirations. And sometimes all it takes is reaching out and asking for help to fulfill your dreams. And I ask you to find the courage and the bravery to reach out and ask for the help. Put it to words. Is there anything you would like to leave our viewers and listeners and by live and replay with, Scott?
God never puts anything on your heart He doesn't ultimately equip you to fulfill. So if there's a dream and you go, where did that come from? It came from the right place, and understand that you'll be able to fulfill that if that's what you focus on and that's what you learn to do, and the desire you go. And I would encourage you, find a mentor, find people that, have done similar things, and ask, learn. You'll find that most people who have accomplished anything of value will give back if you ask them to.
Great. Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your pieces of information and your gift. It's been a pleasure, Scott. So thank you so very much for joining us on Uplift. And for me, start today. Like, don't wait till tomorrow. I don't know about you, but I feel tomorrow never actually comes. So just do one little thing in that right direction, and it'll make so much difference over time, especially if you keep doing more and more little things, or the big things too. So don't be afraid of either of those, and go out and have conversations that truly inspire other people and yourself. Until next time, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Go check out our YouTube channel and subscribe. We will see you next time on Uplift. Take care.
Take care. Thanks,
See y'all.
Scott.